April 27th, 2020, the day I awakened. When my physical reality shifted to the new level of human sensitivity my spirit had gained, a sensitivity towards creation that would be felt in all parts of my reality, becoming more receptive and connected to all that exists. This is how I interpreted my awakening. I felt and witnessed the transformation of my receptivity, feeling the wave of this new energy surging within me, piercing through my layers of skin to reflect itself onto my physical reality, giving my sight a brighter hue with a new vision of clarity. And from this point onwards, everything I saw and sensed had a deeper level of realness and truth, making falsity easier to detect. So whether it was nature, food, or human responses, I was able to feel the integrity of it all. This is what our trauma, identities, and world organization hides us from. The sensitivity we need to connect with what's real and relevant to our human experience. And healing trauma is where we witness our first example of what is real and relevant to the progression of human life: beliefs. By understanding the power of beliefs through our own experience, we are given our first tangible equation to the functionality of life. That spiritual action plus fearlessness equates to us discovering a core value or ability, giving ourselves self-validation and a positive belief that sparks new insight into our potential and what we are capable of achieving in our physical reality. And after witnessing this fact, my attention was no longer focused on the fearful thoughts that arose, but the self-validation and new ability I knew I could receive. I'd already found the value of my heart through the release of my past, so I knew releasing what I believed to be true would give me access to a part of me I didn't know existed. I finally realized the power I had over myself, and claiming that power was embedded in the discovery and fearlessness I would need to give to spirituality. I knew that every decision I'd make would need to be in line with my true self and value, regardless of the fear that came up. And by pushing through trauma, fear showed itself to have a new identity, and its presence meant there was an advanced version of myself waiting for me to step into. And from that point onwards, I challenged my protection. I challenged my silence by speaking my truth. I challenged my avoidance by feeling my emotion. And my appearance, I challenged the idea of femininity by questioning my beliefs around beauty. I wanted to find my self-validation in its entirety. And whatever this validation represented, I wanted to live in it. Because I knew from healing that whatever this point was, it was the essence of life itself, and where the full possibilities of our human experience grows from. And between April 27th, 2020 and September the 17th, 2021, this is what I did. I chose to be seen. And by speaking my truth, I realized the power in my voice and perspective. By expressing my emotion, I naturally created a space for my emotional needs. And by asking myself what beauty meant to me, I realized it was God-given, natural, raw, and real. It wasn't an image, it was a presence. And underneath my idea of femininity, I already had it. This is what happens through our spiritual journey. We redefine our mechanisms of protection through consciously choosing to be fearless in our present moment. As we evolve, choosing to speak from our true self is what updates our physical reality, bringing it up to par with our spiritual awareness. allowing us to attract all that aligns to our new state of being. So choosing to be fearless is what gives our mechanisms new identities, so we can move away from protection into elevation, whilst the results of doing so builds our trust and faith in the functionality of consciousness. And through fearlessness, I became completely natural in my appearance. I voiced the content of my heart, and I analysed my life to accommodate my spiritual and physical needs. I was updating the fabric of my reality, and by doing so, I attracted environments that were aligned to my interests and voice, environments that would teach me the power I had in my spiritual perspective, whilst connecting me to people I'd only seen in my dreams. This is what's on the other side of healing trauma. Not the loss of self we think we may have, but the highest version of ourselves we are capable of creating. By living in our trauma, we sell ourselves short, minimizing our life experience that affects every aspect of our reality. And more than that, if we can't see our individual value, then we can't see our human potential. And relearning our human value is what will stop us working with our world in the way we do. Because the purpose of all of this is climate change. And if we don't change, the physical effects of our lack of consciousness will only increase. This is about saving ourselves and saving our world, whilst giving ourselves a world we were always deserving of. And September the 17th, 2021 is when my spiritual journey took a turn. The only time since awakening when my actions didn't feel in line with my truth, where I had to own the fact that the spiritual business I'd created wasn't in line with what I knew the universal laws to be. And no matter how much I tried to justify it, it wasn't what my highest self needed me to be. I had to push past the idea of stability, and that meant addressing my relationship with humanity's most dominating limiting belief, money. Because by creating a business within the system, I was still showing my lack of faith in consciousness, even though I was teaching it. So I had to decide whether I was going to continue to follow the truth of spirituality or deny a part of it for my stability. And my choice was to follow my truth, because I'd already made a pact with myself that I will live in whatever the entirety of my self-validation represented. So even though I had just sold my house and left my job, I was able to rely on the faith, trust and results I'd received throughout my journey, knowing this is exactly what I needed to do. And by doing this, I was able to release the concept of money that allowed me to understand how energy works as our innate human currency. I was able to see my purpose in full without limitation. I had one job, a full heart, and a limitless intention. And over the past 9 months, this is what I've been perfecting. The content that will help us to see the correlation between consciousness and climate change, whilst allowing myself to be your living, real-time example that the power of consciousness and energy is real. And if we all focused on reaching full spectrum consciousness, we would create a new world order, run on equality, peace, freedom, connection, and fulfillment. And the guidance that was felt through the entirety of my journey, a line of communication that reconfirmed my visions, like today, for example. Angel number 717, confirming I'm aligned to my soul mission, whilst 888 reconfirms the surplus energy and compensation I'll receive on completion. Angel numbers guide us, and once we trust our senses, intuition and visions, they become our extra confirmation to what we already knew. giving us the extra support to leap further than the remaining traits of our protective mechanisms want us to. We see the communication consciousness has to offer, the more we believe in the realness and truth of it. So these were the events of my journey that led me into the position to actively fulfill my purpose. 2 years and 10 days. 1 year, 3 months overcoming my lower self, and 9 months, 10 days understanding and working on my purpose to bring it into the physical form. Some parts of our journey need patience and calmness, whilst other parts needs our action. It's understanding what we need in those moments that allows us to keep our growth progressive. This is how we engage our journey to evolve consistently. So now we know everything. Our world, our limitations, the power of consciousness, and my story. And all we need now is what happens next, the vision. This is Decoding Humanity with Vanessa Nash.